Good morning, everybody. Or is it just a morning? I reckon it's just a morning. It definitely feels like a Monday today. I'm not sure about you. Sam here, United People's TV, here to kick off another week. You want to start with some good news? There's only 2 games left in this Premier League season because it has been draining. Taxing. So draining being a Manchester United fan this season because of the expectations and the hope that we had going into the season and just game by game just getting pulled apart. I want to speak about my match reaction yesterday. I do care about what people think about me. I do care about the comments. I'll take a look through, and I think quite a few people had a fair point. So I'm going to run through that. We're going to speak about the floods. Legitimate floods at Old Trafford. Is there anything more symbolic of Manchester United's downfall than the state of Old Trafford? I hate the Glazers with a passion. I really do. We'll speak about that. We'll speak about the game, Ten Hag's reaction, Wayne Rooney calling out players, saying that there are players, he thinks, that are injured that could be playing for Manchester United. Roy Keane's comments on Erik Ten Hag. Erik Ten Hag's comments himself. Casemiro, Garnacho, Ahmad, Amrabat. It's a busy show today, and I'm going to try and summarise as much as I possibly can. All right? I've been up since like 6:30 this morning. I woke up and I was like, my head was just full of it. Absolutely full of it. Who's here from the Mod Gang? Let's have a quick look. Good morning to you, Vicky and Alex and Carl. I see you all there. Josh, you're there too. And Manoil, how you doing, Manoil? Haven't seen you in a while. We've got, who else up there? T, I think I saw you at the start of the show as well. Natasha and Teresa and David. Maddie, you're there too. Gren and Matt Bird. And we've got Angela. Good morning to all of you. Who's on Facebook? Good morning, Matt Frost. We've got Olugu. We've got Mill Clintons, Mackie. And we've got one more name. So look, we've got Papa Abaka. Good morning to all of you. I don't know how many tabs I've got on this screen here, but there is a lot to cover in this show. There really is a lot to cover. You wonder how just Man United is a great. Anyway, never a dull moment. That's one way to describe it. Now let's start with the biggest positive from yesterday. For sure, the biggest positive from yesterday. This. Congratulations to the women's team on winning their first ever FA Cup. They absolutely spanked Spurs in the final. It wasn't even close. What was it, 4-0 at the end? I think it was 4-0. Deservedly champions. Will it be the women's team and the men's team both lifting the FA Cup? Well, that'll be a nice end to the season. I don't know, hold out much hope for that, but I suppose you never know. But congratulations to the ladies' team. I think there were tons of people giving Jim Ratcliffe grief for being at Old Trafford. I think, well, the reason he was at Old Trafford was because he was meeting Keir Starmer and Andy Burnham speaking about Old Trafford. That was, as far as he was concerned, that was his biggest priority. Avram Glazer, unfortunately for the women's team, was at Wembley yesterday. But yeah, congratulations to them. Incredible performance and the first FA Cup. Hopefully not the last one. However, we now move on to this, right? And I can't believe this is real, really. Look at this. Legitimate floods. Like, Old Trafford, once upon a time, was the best and the biggest stadium in England. It was held up as the gold standard. It was, you'd look at Old Trafford and everybody got chills and shivers and every player wanted to play there. And that is what it is now, mate. I don't know anything about health and safety regulations or anything like that. That's insane. And you know what I was thinking, right? Do you have any idea how lucky the Glazers are? Well, I suppose Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS now, but this has come as a consequence of the Glazers. Do you have any idea how lucky they are that this rain didn't happen half an hour earlier? If this rain, because basically it got to like the 87th minute, thereabouts, and then thunder kicking down, just mad. I think it was 1 inch of rain fell in an hour. If that had happened 30 minutes earlier when the game was still on, do you have any idea how bad those images would have been? I'm not even sure that the ground would have been able to cope with the actual waterlogged pit. I think it probably would have been a waterlogged pitch. There's a chance it could have got turned off. Not turned off, but abandoned. But Insane. Insane. This is from Sky Sports, this one.
In the rain around Old
Look at
Trafford,
it.
cracks appearing in the stadium.
Man, that's not...
It seems have been there in the dressing
Look at it. Imagine the game was still going on and there were people sitting in those seats. That's what I mean about health and safety. That there is nothing that will sum up Manchester United's woes over these last 10 years more than what the Glazers have allowed to happen. It's not just a leaky roof. It is a full-on water feature. You could get a sled and go down that. Look at it. It's a swimming pool. Man. Nothing sums up. And you are damn straight that my video today at lunchtime is going to be based on that. Because it's sickening. It's sickening. And I know a lot of people would love. And you know what? There's part of me that will always agree with this. There's part of me that would love to see Old Trafford renovated into the modern era, and we keep the memories and everything there that we had before, and we look ahead to the future. And then I see stuff like that. And then I remember, my God, this stadium has been neglected. It's not a leak. We're talking about floods on the concourses, floods down the stairs, floods on the side of the pitch, water dripping into the away team dressing room. I'm going to do a video on it at lunchtime today. Alex, you sent it a super chat early in the show. Let me quickly read that and we move on. And we're going to speak about the football now. Unfortunately, we're going to speak about the football. Alex is saying, will United men score another goal this season, let alone win a single game? Can't help but think that the men's squad lacks Jim Ratcliffe's favourite INEOS word, grit. Remember that video I did? He keeps saying that word quite a lot. We've got Newcastle on Wednesday. Banging form Newcastle. I'll speak about that a little bit later in the show. Then we've got Brighton. I mean, Brighton aren't what they were early this season. First half of the season, no. Yeah, we'll score. I wouldn't back us to win any games, I'll be honest. But I want to speak about something I don't think I've actually had to do here on this channel. And I know I don't have to do this, but I really do care how people perceive me as a Manchester United fan. And I know that when you do match reactions, you can get caught up in it. I think in about 90% overall of the match reactions I've done on this channel, I've been able to sort of step back, try not to get too involved in the emotions of the game. Hey, sometimes I do, all right? And after watching United lose their 19th game, after just seeing the frustrations, I was more in the camp of Roy Keane, right? I was just looking at his United team and it was just like, it just hurts watching this United team. It was so far off, and Arsenal really didn't have to try that hard. But then I remembered, well, and it's not that I remembered this, right? This is a comment I completely agree with when it comes to Erik Ten Hag, right? You can't progress a team when you have injuries in so many key areas. It's like swimming with your hands tied behind your back. You have to keep your head above the water level. And that is a comment from Erik Ten Hag that I do agree with. But do you know the thing that I think I've realised the core of my frustration yesterday was this. The core of my frustration, somebody sent me a tweet before the game, right? I reacted to the starting. Was it a starting? I just said, look, United need to switch it up. And this is what I said. I said, Manchester United and Erik Ten Hag, we have to accept that right now we cannot be a proactive team. I know that Erik Ten Hag wants it. I know that he's given that interview with Gary Neville and he said, if you step too far away from the principles that you're trying to put in your team, then it's going to be hard for you to recover when the players come back from injury. But I said, look, United have just got to accept that we can't be a proactive team right now. Play two in midfield. Drop the really aggressive front press. We were still pressing quite high. And we got nowhere near the ball once, by the way, against Arsenal. They played around our press easy. This is why I have been shouting, seemingly against a brick wall, about Amrabat starting for Man United. I do not think, right? Hands in the air. I definitely overestimated the impact that Amrabat could have. But I didn't underestimate the profile that he is. And people might get bored about talking about profiles and stats and all that stuff. Amrabat is somebody who, when he's in the team, you play a bit more football. When he's in the team, you're going to start passing it around a bit more rather than just going for the transitional football, front to back, as fast as possible. And that's what happens when you play Amrabat in that team, which is what frustrates me more about this comment. And I think this is why I was annoyed yesterday. Because Erik Ten Hag could have done this earlier this season. All right? He said after the Gary Neville... I said that. I'm going to go back to the Gary Neville interview. He said, I don't want to switch away from my principles because when players come back... I've just repeated it, right? But that's it. He did yesterday. He switched. We played 2 central midfielders. Did Man United have 0 chances created, basically? Yeah, that's what happens when you take Bruno Fernandes out of the team. Yeah, well done. Thumbs up to everybody who wants Bruno Fernandes out of the team. Well, there you go. But defensively, we were more sound, more resolute. And had we done that earlier this season, I just don't think the damage would have been as damaging. That's what Erik Ten Hag, I think, is the biggest failure from Erik Ten Hag this season, is his decision to not try with damage limitation and to instead cause more damage. And I'm somebody who, I still want Erik Ten Hag to be here the next season, at the start of it anyway. It might not work and then we move on, but it really frustrates me because I totally agree with that. You can't progress a team. You can't get this team playing how you want to play when all the injuries are there. So tweak it, man. And we tweaked it yesterday and it made a big difference. Now, ultimately, we didn't have enough quality and I'll speak about that, right? But that's I think was at the core of why I was frustrated, and I think why I went probably over the top. No, I definitely went over the top when reacting there, and it bothered me that I did that because I'm normally pretty good at being able to step back and do it, but I definitely didn't yesterday. I'm going to read some of your comments out down here. Garnacho, I'm going to speak back. There's been some weird discourse around Garnacho from yesterday. Never do I want a player, never do I as a United fan want to try and stop a player from actually trying something. Give me all your nannies in the world. Somebody who actually tries rather than somebody who goes, I don't want responsibility. You can take it. Back to you. Am I overestimating Amrabat's influence? I'm not talking about Amrabat's influence. I'm talking about the profiles of the players that you select in your starting 11. If you play with Amrabat, who is likely to have 90% plus possession, he was going to find not all the time. He made loads of mistakes yesterday. It was far from a perfect performance. But you actually try and play a bit more football through the middle with him in the pitch. Simple. You're going to have a little bit more protection because you're playing 2 central midfielders. Simple. It was nowhere near perfect yesterday, but I'm just saying that we could have had that early this season. And we didn't need to damage up. We didn't need to punch ourselves in the face so much. That's what's annoyed me the most. Right? I think there was a super chat there. Let me read this one out. Ray, you're saying these videos of our club surely show what the Glazers have done. Football now at Old Trafford is on a dead burner. Man, I can't believe those. I still can't believe those. Do you know how bad that is? That's mad. Mad. Absolutely mad. But look, we need to speak about the game itself, okay? And we need to speak about the players. And this is... It's quite a... is it a damage? I don't know the right way to describe it. I suppose it's quite a damaging accusation there from Wayne Rooney. Maybe not damaging, wrong word. But Wayne Rooney here is a player that we know, right? And anybody who was lucky enough to watch Manchester United when Wayne Rooney was a player, you're not really going to find any other player at Manchester United who gives more than him. He played with... You remember after the Bayern game? Was it away from home? And right at the end, when Bayern equalised, he twisted his ankle, didn't he? You know when you put your weight in your ankle and your ankle flips out? And there's no way that he could possibly play in the return leg. He did. Definitely wasn't 100% fit. And that's pretty much I say accusation. That's pretty much what Wayne Rooney is saying here. All right, I'm going to read what his comments say. He goes, look at the injuries they have. Oh, yeah, there are some very good players in that squad, and the performances are way below par. Well, that goes without saying. Look at the injuries they have picked up. Some of those players can play 100%. You've got a European Championship coming up and an FA Cup final. Because they're getting a little bit of stick now, it's easy for the players to stay out a little bit and then come back towards the final and get themselves fit for the Euros. I've seen it myself over the years. I just think that the players who have been injured, they are not filling themselves with any credit at the minute, and the manager is going to take all the stick for that. And as I said, Rooney knows a thing or two about playing when you're not 100% fit. Rooney had to be kept out of games to protect himself by Fergie sometimes. You know, sometimes he wants to play, mate, you're definitely not fit. Of course, well, maybe as far as we're concerned from this point of view, I'm not saying it's speculation, but Rooney knows. Maybe does Rooney actually know from these players? We don't know that part. So in that sense, it's a bit of speculation. But Rooney knows what it takes to play for Manchester United, and sometimes you might not be there. Sometimes you might not be 100% fit. Sometimes it would kind of serve you better just to disappear into the background. And I think that's pretty much what Wayne Rooney's trying to get at here. Because the ship has been sinking all season. And Rooney doesn't feel that these players have given enough for this manager. He clearly doesn't feel that the players have put themselves on the line in the same way that their manager has put himself on the line for them. I want to read some of your comments out down here, right? So what do you think about Wayne Rooney's comments? Do you think they're justified? Do you think they're unfair? Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm going to go down here and read some. Oh, man. Nuruddin, man. How you doing? I thought you'd have a day off today after what we saw yesterday. But it's been flooded at Old Trafford. And you know what I've done? Of course, we have got a new 50 video for Nuruddin himself, the main man that is making this community just what it is. You're a legend, man. Lights are staying on this time. Switch up. Big up to you, man. I was well happy when I was doing that this morning. I was sitting there going, what video can I possibly put in that might put a smile on people's faces? I was like, I swear Fergie got scared by a balloon once, didn't he? Yes, he did. Big up to you, Nuruddin. That's a real nice distraction from what has been an awful game. No day off for a United fan. No, none indeed. But actually, I'm going to read some of your comments out down there. I didn't read any of your comments. I do love that video. Don't worry, Van Gaal Slipping's going to be up soon. Israel, you're saying Rooney was speaking the truth. James, you're saying you feel he's calling out Rashford. No one can call out Bruno. But he's not naming names, right? But although we can't attach names to it, we can as United fans. We can say, like, hand on heart, there's only a select few players in this squad that I would be prepared to stand up, like chest out, and to really argue to defend, given what we've seen this season. Now, Bruno Fernandes is one of them for me. That's why I did my video on Bruno over the weekend, and there's a few more that I would do that with as well. But there are certain players in this squad we go, am I really gonna stand up with effort and passion and defend you? And probably not. I think it's justified to have the frustrations. Massively justified to have the frustrations. And look, Erik Ten Hag's kind of been speaking about it himself because we've got to play it safe. So we'd all love to see Martinez back in this team. Martinez actually asked to be in the squad to face Arsenal. And Erik Ten Hag was like, no, stay out of it. Martial was back in training like, what, 2 weeks ago? A week ago? 2 weeks ago? Something like that. Where's he been since? He hasn't even been in a match day squad. Martial is definitely one of the players that Wayne Rooney is speaking about. Well, that's for sure. There is only one game left. Even before the Arsenal game, there was only one game left this season for me. So if I'm being totally honest, at this time, I would rather those players genuinely rested. I would rather we get a 100% fit Rashford than somebody who's kind of brought through against Arsenal, against Newcastle, and against Brighton. I suppose you're going to have to play some sort of minutes. But Martinez, no chance. Maybe against Newcastle. We're not going to be winning 2-0 with 20 minutes to go, are we? So I don't know what context or scenario we use him in, but let's speak about Erik Ten Hag, all right? And then we can move on. This is going to be a busy show today. There are so many talking points. And this is something that Erik Ten Hag said before the game. Well, this is on the 10th of May. What's that? Friday night? I think it's Friday night. And I've been saying this quite a lot on this channel in these last few days. I said, Erik Ten Hag he just doesn't speak like a manager who is fearing for his job. It's just not the way he carries himself. It's just not the way the rhetoric is when he speaks. And Roy Keane supports Erik Ten Hag. He wants to see him given more time. I'm pretty sure that Wayne Rooney said the same thing on the show yesterday, but didn't actually get those comments up. I'm pretty sure this week Gary Neville said the same thing. Now, maybe they know something. Maybe they do. Or maybe that's just their own opinions. But Erik Ten Hag really has, as I said, he's not struck me as a man who's really worried that his job is on the line. And for me, that kind of shows one of two things. Or one of three things, whatever you want to call it, right? It's either Erik has spoken with INEOS behind the scenes, and they already know the plans, and they already know that Erik's going to be there next season at the start of it, and Erik's not fussed what happens in public or what's said in public because he's spoken to his boss. He knows. We don't know as a public yet, but he knows. Or number two, Ten Hag is really prepared to get blindsided after the FA Cup final, and he's willing to put himself in the position to be blindsided. Nuruddin, you're saying that you've been saying this for quite a while. You're saying you're calm about Erik Ten Hag being in charge next season, and I'll be totally honest. I think if I wasn't the face of this channel and I wasn't speaking about this every day and I wasn't head in every single day, I'd probably be a little bit more calm. But it's kind of hard for me not to get swept up in it because I'm a United fan. I give a shit. I want to see my club do well. So I do get swept away in it sometimes. Just like a lot of people got swept away at Old Trafford. Quite literally yesterday. Showtime, you're saying that Rooney's comments are justified, but he himself wanted to leave because the club was showing no ambition in 2010-11. Then he got a pay rise. Man, I remember I fell out with Rooney. I fell out with Rooney, didn't know me. But my opinion changed on Rooney immediately after that. And I backed Fergie's corner. And then as time has passed, I look back and I go, I think I was a bit harsh on Rooney there. Because my whole opinion on Rooney changed at that point. He was the first person I thought that really broke Fergie. And then Fergie came out and then sort of in support of him. I'm going to read some of your comments out down here about Erik. Let's have a look. And you think next season is too soon to expect too much change? I kind of disagree with that point. There is going to be so much change this summer. And that's what I got up early this morning for, because my mind was just full of ideas and conversations that I think we need to have as a community. So my video today is going to be on the Old Trafford situation because you can't ignore that. It's ridiculous. I think tomorrow I'm going to do sort of how INEOS can rebuild Manchester United this summer, and I'm going to list my sort of 1 through 6 points of things that I actually think will happen this summer. So I think not everything can happen this summer, but I do think quite a few things can. Vic Zani is saying toxic players, toxic culture, keep Ten Hag and get rid of the toxic players. If Ten Hag does see this season out and does see this summer out and starts as Manchester United manager next season, he will be what? Will he be the third Man United manager to see the third season? Mourinho was sacked in his third season, and I think Solskjaer was sacked in his. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong in the comments, but I think I'm right. And I don't think there's been a manager that's seen out a third season at Manchester United post-Fergie. The longest that we've got was, I think Solskjaer went in November. Didn't Jose going around about November time as well? I think that's right. So no United manager has ever seen out a third season post-Fergie, which is a madness, really. Andrew saying, I think he gets until Christmas, and that's a comment I would agree with. It's not to say that I think he'll be sacked by Christmas, but I think Erik Ten Hag will be given the opportunity to prove himself until Christmas. And if he doesn't at that point, then INEOS will go, well, we're not going to wait another 6 months to see if you can see out the season. We're going to make a change now. And I think INEOS will already be planning that now. The contingency plans will already be in place. Ross, you're angry at Erik Ten Hag for misusing this squad. And I'm going to speak about that now, all right? I'm going to speak about the game. Give me 10, 15 minutes of your time. If you can, please drop a like on the video. I do care about this channel. I do care about this team. And that's why I was annoyed at myself after that match reaction yesterday, because I've read the comments and I was like, you know what? Yeah, I definitely went over the top. And that's why I hate fan cams, by the way. But basically, I put myself on a fan cam yesterday. It goes to show you, when it's straight after the game, you can be hot-headed. And I've done that a few times this season. But it's been a mad season. 2 games left. 2 games. Well, 3 games. 2 Premier League games left. Halftime, you're saying the thing that annoys me the most is that yesterday was how we should have set up tactically months ago. That was at the core of my frustration. Anybody on this channel will know what I've been saying about Amrabat. Just please, we could all see it as well. I didn't need me to tell it to you, but we needed those 3. We needed those, not 3. We needed those changes. We needed to play 2 in midfield. It's just that. Anyway. Come on. Oh, my God. I mean, it came as absolutely no surprise to anybody that it was Casemiro who was at fault. Was he at fault in isolation? No. Wan-Bissaka was literally looking over his shoulder like 2-3 times and somehow let Trossard get in front of him. But Wan-Bissaka's always had that weakness, over his shoulder at the back post. Brian saying you gave up on Casemiro. Dude, Casemiro's given up himself. There's nobody in this comment section that will be able to argue a logical reason as to why Casemiro just ambled out of defence. The only reason is a lack of application. All right. Wayne Rooney, I think I've got a comment up here. Where is it? There. There. Wayne Rooney's just like, it's just lazy. And I think more than it being lazy, I think it's just a direct reflection of where he is. Casemiro's gone. Casemiro's checked out. Casemiro's been tasked with playing a position, and he's tried. I don't doubt that. But he's just not good enough. Physically. Physically, he's slowed down so much in a league which has just gone up and up and up. And he's tried, and he's just not good enough. All right? This is what Erik Ten Hag said about him after the game. Well, about that particular moment.
It's a bad moment our side, shouldn't happen, but yeah, that is top football, it's a detail. And in that detail, we were wrong. And we have to take that, but of course, it's very hard in this moment.
I'm not sure if you saw it after the game, or if you saw it actually straight on Sky Sports. You just saw Erik Ten Hag, because for the opening 20 minutes, right? And this is why I think that people were fair to call me out for the match reaction. The first 20 minutes, we had the control, man. It was a game where so many of us expected us to get absolutely steamed, absolutely pumped at home. First 20 minutes, we had the run of the game. Up until Casemiro did that. And you just saw Erik Ten Hag standing on the sideline just doing this. Just shaking his head. Which is kind of what we were all doing, right? It's just... And how many times have we been speaking about this season? Like, big individual errors. Big, like, massive individual errors that have led to goals, that have changed momentums in games. Onana was culpable for a few of them in the Champions League. Casemiro is culpable for that one there. And there have been other players that have been culpable across the course of the seasons. And Casemiro is so totally gone. And you could all see it months ago, and some people didn't want to hear it. A bit like with Ronaldo. But it doesn't mean it's not correct. And you're saying what I don't understand is Cambuala looked fit when he came on. No, Erik Ten Hag spoke about it. Said Cambuala wasn't fit to start. Don't even think Evans was actually fit to start. He said, I've literally got no choice. There's some people down there saying, we could play McTominay in the centre-back position. And given that we've got no goals, and Erik Ten Hag, and he's completely correct on this, McTominay does play better when he's higher up the pitch. Could he have played Louis Jackson from the under-18s as centre-back? I mean, technically, yes. That would have been harsh. Well, not harsh, but that would have been like, wow, baptism of fire. And sometimes those players do sink, and sometimes they don't recover from it. I don't even think I want to see Casemiro in a starting 11 for the rest of the season. I just can't see how he is an asset to the team right now. And it's not being overly harsh, man. It's just like, it's just saying what you see in front of your own eyes. Okay? We looked like a far more comfortable team playing football. Actual, genuine football. Like, pass me the ball, let's move. Pass, move. The sort of football that you played as kids. The sort of football that you loved, you enjoyed playing. Pass and move. Teamwork. Rather than, I mean, the counter-attack has value, but it shouldn't be the only reason Man United create chances, which has been a lot this season. And it changed because Amrabat was in there. And he made loads of mistakes, as I said. I mean, Casemiro probably will start the FA Cup final. All right? Fingers crossed that we've got... What players do you hope we've got back from injury for the FA Cup final? We've got Martinez, obviously, hopefully coming back. Varane. Probably not. I would say if I'm going to choose one of the two, I would probably want Maguire to be fit ahead of Varane. Luke Shaw, I don't know whether he's going to be fit. I think he had a setback in his injury. Bruno Fernandes obviously will be fit. Mason Mount. Dude. He must have played like 15% of the games this season. Marcus Rashford. There's some big names there. There is a chance in the FA Cup final. The team against Arsenal showed resilience, showed organisation, showed shape. Ultimately, it was the lack of quality that made us lose that game. And if we remember that game at City, what was it, a month or so ago? Rashford banging in the goal. Man United sitting in shape. Went in 1-0. Was it 1-0 at half-time? We were like, that was a very defensively resolute performance. But we were like, can we sustain that for 90 minutes? No. No, we can't. And City, ultimately, the quality came through and they broke us down. So if we try to do that against City in the FA Cup final, I would probably presume a similar result. So it's about finding that balance. Can you be defensively resolute whilst also not just camped on the edge of your own box against City? I don't know. The only team I've seen manage to do that was Arsenal early this season at the Emirates. Not the Emirates, Etihad. Sahaj, you're saying, I know it's the most frustrating and painful option, but patience is the only thing we need at the moment. Things will get better, but not drastically. The squad clear out, the stadium rebuild. Man, there's a lot that needs to be happening. This summer of all summers is going to be, I mean, it's always busy here on United People's TV, but make sure you do subscribe because I'm fully in. I'm going to be covering all of it. I'm not sure if we're going to get away this summer. I'll tell you that. Anyway, let's speak about the biggest positive from a player perspective yesterday, for sure, was Ahmad. And a lot of people have been angry at Ahmad's lack of opportunities. And who else? I suppose Amrabat. Both of these, Amrabat and Ahmad. And I think I did this in my starting 11. I had both players in. What was my starting 11 for that game yesterday? Let's have a quick look. I swear I had both of them in. 1 second there. playing Arsenal at Old Trafford, right? Oh, no, don't need to hear my voice. Right, where is it? That's what I hope to see. Not too far off, I suppose. So that was my starting 11. I had Ahmed on the right-hand side. I had Amrabat being the deepest of players. I didn't have Mainu alongside him in the midfield too because I just didn't expect to see Erik Ten Hag play it. But having Ahmed in that team allowed Manchester United to play differently. Okay? When you play with Anthony on that right-hand side, the goal is transitions. The goal is get the ball over the top or just allow him to it's fast moving, right? When you play Ahmed and you play Amrabat, you kind of slow it down a little bit because you have more technical players on the ball. Players who are not scared to have the ball at their feet. Players who will show to receive the ball. That's how Ahmed plays. That is how Amrabat plays. And Ahmed was really impressive, okay? Drifting inside, creating problems simply through a little bit of ball carrying, which you haven't really seen too often from Manchester United's wingers. Of course, you do from Garnacho, who's extremely direct, but Ahmed was a little bit different, right? What do you think about how Ahmed played yesterday? Now, Ahmed spoke after the game. He obviously went off injured, which was a frustration. And he was saying that the reason I went off injured was because I clashed knees. Remember, he clashed knees in the first half, went down. He said that was bothering him. So that's the reason why he went off. What did you make of his performance? All right. I'm going to go down and read some comments. Edwich, you're saying that he was decent. Dudley saying Aban needs better players around him. He'd like Bernardo Silva at Monaco. I'm not going to say he's Bernardo Silva level, but that's what Ahmed did at Sunderland, by the way. Played on the right hand when he was in the Championship for a season. Had a really, really good season. Played on the right-hand side, but drifted in loads. That's the sort of player he is. Very good in and around the box. Very good in tight spaces and finding gaps. That's what he's good at, and I think that's what we saw. Alex saying if Ahmed had a decent, technically able right back overlapping, he would be more effective. Well, I think you all know my opinions. My opinion on Wan-Bissaka. You don't actually. I'll be honest. I don't even know my opinion on Wan-Bissaka. Man, that chop. You can accuse me of being a flip flop when it comes to Wan-Bissaka because I'm like in out, changes all the time. I'd be fine if Wan-Bissaka left and we replaced him. I've settled on my opinion now. Yeah. I don't think you need just two different types of right backs for two different occasions. I just think you need two really good modern fullbacks. And I think we can upgrade on Wan-Bissaka. I also think we wouldn't really struggle to sell him. I think so. Frimpong is not a right back. Anybody who says Frimpong is been like, he's at Leverkusen. How many's he got? Go and watch Leverkusen play. They play with three at the back. He is a right winger. His average positions are probably further forward than Ahmed's. He is not a right back in a back four. That is for sure. But Ahmed, well done. I think he deserved praise. And I think on the flip side, you saw... honestly, I thought it was a bit weird, the narrative and the discourse around Garnacho's performance yesterday. There was only one player in this entire... Well, that's a lie. Ahmed as well. Ahmed and Garnacho were the only players in this team who were taking any sort of responsibility with the ball in the final third. Any. Did any of it come off? No, it didn't. But to sort of... People were starting to sort of... Garnacho's greedy, has his head down, he's Rashford V2. Garnacho's 19, man. Got a kid as well. I was thinking about that last night. I was like, what was I doing when I was 19? I was going, well, we don't need to speak about that. Garnacho looks shagged right now. Garnacho looks like he's been one of the only outlets that Manchester United have had in our worst ever Premier League season. And he is trying to pull us out. And by doing that, he's kind of reverting more to FA Youth Cup Garnacho than Manchester United first team player Garnacho, somebody who's just taken it on himself. Like those shots, remember the shot yesterday where he finally got space, beat Ben White, came to the edge of the box, had no Arsenal player like 5 yards around him in any direction, and just curled it like 15 yards wide. That's a tired player. Absolutely exhausted player. And I wouldn't want to train any of that out of Garnacho. I think what needs to be trained into him, he needs to be able to sort of, I don't know whether it's there's going to be people who are a lot more experienced in this than I am. But he should be able to drift past players more. It's almost like he's trying to be Ronaldo when he hasn't really quite got the power for it. I think it's just a little bit of coaching. A little bit more attacking coaching that can help him develop his game, because he's been running into brick walls quite a lot this season. It's never, you know, some players get frustrated at doing that and then they stop doing it. I don't want him to stop doing it, but I think he could probably do with a little bit more coaching to improve. And I think next year, when he's 20, all right, I think he'll be even better. And having a proper overlapping left back would be really quite handy. It's been a massive problem. It's a massive problem for wingers in the modern game, because if you don't have overlapping fullbacks, you are going to get doubled up on. You're going to have to get past two players, which is invariably twice as hard. Same thing on the right-hand side. Wan-Bissaka's not overlapping because our fullbacks, Delo especially, is inverting a lot. And it makes us a little bit more narrow. But he's 19. You know, mad days. It's just, people need to remember that this dude has started. What, how many games has he started in a row now? I've got no idea. But I would be surprised. I'm not saying it's impossible, because I can't do the research myself right now. I'd be surprised if there's a player of his age who started as many consecutive games for Manchester United in history. There probably are some, all right? I'm not saying it hasn't happened before, but I'd be very surprised if it's happened a lot of times. And it's in a season where we've just been garbage. Absolutely garbage. And he's still trying. I wouldn't ever want to sort of coach that out of him. But you can coach him to make better decisions. And that's something he definitely needs to improve on next season. Yeah, 30, it's definitely 30-plus games. And it's just mad. I don't know how many United players have done that in history. Andy's saying it would help if he had options at the end of his runs. It was something that Gary Neville was pointing out, which I think is a very fair point in commentary. He goes, you kind of don't know what to do as Højlund or McTominay. You kind of don't know whether to run in and to run to the front post, or run in and run to the back post, or run in and cut back and hold back to the edge of the box. You don't know whether the cross is coming in. You don't know whether he's going to take another touch. There's a disconnect. It's the lack of repeated patterns in attack. Højlund is somebody who naturally will run for that front post. Get that whip cross in early, and he'll get on the end of it. But the strikers don't really... Well, Højlund doesn't... How much service has Højlund had? Højlund? That'd be a really bad name. Roy Højlund. No. Anyway. How much service has he had? But at the start of the game, just an unfortunate slip. Tired, mate. Cobby looks tired. Everyone looks tired. I'm tired. And I'm just commenting on the games. Let alone how these players feel. And I haven't got sympathy for all of them, because a lot of them I don't think are committing everything. But I don't think Garnacho is one of them. I think he's trying, and he has continued to try. We'll see. Daniel's saying, what's your opinion on Højlund? I think it would be very nice if Manchester United actually played football towards having a striker, because we do have a striker, and I think we've got a good striker. But I don't think we're playing towards him in any way, shape or form. I'm surprised he's not much more frustrated. And then people are going to like hone in on what Højlund's one chance that he had, that he slipped. Oh, that makes him a terrible striker. Great analysis. How about you get the bloke 6 shots a game and see how many goals he scores? Then you can start complaining about a striker. But when a striker has absolutely nothing to feed off, I don't think you can really say much. That's something I definitely want to say. Not that I needed that game yesterday. Not that I needed that game against Crystal Palace. To know How reliant we are on this man. How reliant this whole team is on this man to create, which is really bad. Really, really bad. And Erik Ten Hag spoke. I don't know how confirmed this is, but there's a chance that Bruno Fernandes is out for the Newcastle game as well. Remember, Mason Mount's out too. And then having McTominay as a link man, I mean, you may as well not have a link man. You're not going to have a link man if it's McTominay. Bruno Fernandes is exactly why I did this video at the weekend. It's quite a fun thumbnail. But you know full well how much I've defended Bruno Fernandes this season, how much I think criticism from United fans is way, way over the top when it comes to Bruno and how important he is to this team. And I think these last two games where we've created like pretty much literally zero, we miss Bruno. We really do. That's actually a good. There's a good couple of comments down there saying, "Well, Sam, why don't you play?" Not you. Why don't you play Ahmad in the number 10? It's not a bad shout, that. I'll be honest, that's not a bad shout. Presumably, you then play Anthony back on the right-hand side, but at least you'd have somebody in the middle, and that's what Anthony did against Arsenal. He saw gaps and he went for gaps. He brought the ball forward 3, 4, 5 yards. He trusted himself with the ball at his feet. I actually think that's not a bad shout, given that Bruno's not there. But you know what Erik Ten Hag likes? He likes McTominay being that box crasher. But if you're going to play Amrabat and you're going to play with more technical football, I think Ahmad's a good link player. It's not a bad shout, that. Some people saying he's not good enough. I think he is good enough. Certainly for opportunities. Depends on his injury, I suppose. Jibak, you're saying, we're the only club whose fans hate their own players more than their rivals do. Every club's fans shield their players from criticism. Oli was hated on because he's an ex-player. Now we have Bruno, Rashford and Garnacho. I can't speak for fans of other clubs, all right? And I don't really care what they do. Manchester United, largely we still do it, all right? But Manchester United previously, it was batten down the hatches. It was Man United against the world. And you defend your players right to the end. Social media has definitely weakened that because it's very hard to batten down the hatches when you've got 400 hatches open. You know what I mean? It's easier for noise to sort of permeate through and, to have an impact on these players. Social media has not helped football in any way, shape or form. It's made football more like a Netflix show. It's added, hey, look, I suppose the reason our community exists is social media. So I can't begrudge it too much. But it is the drama around the football. It's the discourse that used to exist in pubs and pre and post game with your mates after a beer has... And sometimes there was that arsehole at the end of the bar that you could just ignore. But they've now got loud voices. Same thing in it. So I'm not just talking about football. Jonathan there with a really good comment that I definitely want to point out is how... I said it in my match reaction. So I got that bit right. How loud Old Trafford was. It was about 10 minutes. They were singing Spirit in the Sky. It sounded like an away end. The Stretford end sounded like an away end, and it was kind of like a defiant chant. That's the way I took it as a fan. It's sort of saying we've been down and out this season. We have been bullied, humiliated, and everything under the sun. We're not going anywhere. We're still supporting this team, and United fans always will. It was pretty damn impressive, if I'm honest. That was pretty cool. One of the only good things that happened yesterday. But speaking about how bad this season has been, it should come as absolutely no surprise to hear this. Manchester United have cancelled the end of season awards dinner. And it's, there's not going to be any United fan. You know what? I feel sorry for the women's team. I feel sorry for the under-18s team. They've won the Premier League North, and they're... If you're in London, go down to Stamford Bridge tomorrow. The under-18s are playing in the national final against Chelsea. But the end-of-season awards have been cancelled, right? And the men's team do not deserve it in any way, shape or form. And ultimately, that is why they've been cancelled. So the awards will still be handed out. And you know what I'm going to do this week? I was thinking about this. I've started to do some community posts on the YouTube page. They're just little like posts. That's like a little like social media sort of feed, if you want to call it that. I'm going to do like community end of season awards. So I'm going to put some votes in there, one per day over the next week or so, and say, right, who's your best player of the season? And you can vote on who you think it is. Most disappointing player, best moment, best young player, etc., etc. And we can have our own ones that we'll speak about next week after the season is over when we play Brighton. But in terms of the actual dinner itself, it's not happening. As I said, I feel sorry for the women's team. And I feel sorry for the under-18s that have actually had successful seasons. But INEOS has sort of taken a sort of sweeping view of this, I suppose, and cancelling all of it. Let me see what you're saying down here in the comments. Can we do post-season for the youth and women's team? That's what I just said there. You're saying that the only positive you saw was Delo. Well, Delo's definitely improved this season. I mean, I think you're going to struggle to find a more improved player than Diogo Delo this season. If I'm being honest, but you know, you can have your own opinions. Good cost-saving measures, says Justin. Well, they are really looking at every single thing. I know people are angry that they've cancelled the work from home policy and returning to an office environment. INEOS do not trust. There'll be hardly anybody do INEOS trust. That made no sense, that sentence. INEOS do not trust hardly anybody at that club. Members of staff, players. I don't think they 100% trust Erik Ten Hag either. Everybody's going to have doubts, and it's going to be end of season, awards being cancelled, the end of season jaunt that all 1,100 employees used to get, an FA Cup final ticket, plus lunch beforehand, plus dinner after, plus a party, plus a hotel, dashed. If you want to go down, you can get one ticket and you've got to pay for a bus. Company credit cards, dashed. Chauffeured private cars for, I don't know who for, director, dashed. End of season awards. Vamos. And that's the best comment I think you've ever made. Make the men's team be waiters for the women's team and the under-18s. Hors d'oeuvre, sir. That's a really funny image in my head. That's a really good idea. Imagine the photos that came out from that. But INEOS, and this is again, this is why I feel like I wanted to call myself out on that match reaction yesterday, because when you have your head down and you look at that game and you look at the individual performances and stuff like that, it's easy to get caught up in it, and I did. But then I take a step back and I look up and I see Jim Ratcliffe there, and I see Dave Brailsford, and I see Jason Wilcox, I see Andy Burnham sitting there talking to Seb Coe. And you can't see him, but Keir Starmer's just off to the right of Seb Coe, and that's because he was at the game yesterday. Obviously, Labour leader. Jim Ratcliffe is doing everything within his power to try and swing some public investment, not in the building of Old Trafford, but in the Trafford area, right? That's what he wants to do. He wants to get support. He's got support from Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Manchester. He's got Keir Starmer in as... not Keir Starmer. He's got Seb Coe in leading the Old Trafford task force. He's got Keir Starmer he's invited in to speak about the plans if Labour win the election. So this is Jim Ratcliffe. Jim Ratcliffe has not hidden the fact that he wants to build a new stadium, all right? More videos. Right? Look at it. I still can't believe that happened. But this is Jim Ratcliffe hoping that Keir Starmer and Labour win the election and that he can curry some favour. Because INEOS want public funds to help not build the stadium, but build around the stadium, given the fact that they're going to be building, I'm sure they'll say it in here, right? Let's have a look. Regeneration of the wider Trafford Park area. We already know that, right? And I think they're going to have that's it there. So this is Old Trafford here, and this is the area that wants to be, that in an ideal world, INEOS want to redevelop. And that's why Keir Starmer was there. And this is ultimately the ambition of Jim Ratcliffe. He wants a new stadium. And judging by what we saw from Old Trafford yesterday, look at it again. Do we really think that that stadium can be renovated to the point where it's a modern masterpiece? I'd have big concerns. I'd have major concerns. And there's two more things I want to speak about here. Three more things before I finish the show today. Let me quickly pull this up. I forgot to pull it up earlier. Damn it. I've only got 35 tabs open. May as well make it 36. Right, let's pull this up there. Those two things there. Right, cool. These two things. First thing I want to say is Nuruddin, you're a legend. And Akash, you've just gifted 50 memberships as well. Like, dudes. I keep repeating this, and the fact that everybody still comes on board and is still willing to gift memberships is kind of an indicator to me that you do trust me. That I'm doing my hardest to make this community as incredible a place as it can be. And I think you're all on board with that. But dude, thank you so much for gifting 50 again. It just goes back in to make this place bigger and better.
5, 4, 3,
Let's just enjoy that Fergie video again, because I really enjoyed that. That's just a good video. But dude, thank you so much, Akash. I really mean it to everybody. It's Alex, the merch is coming. Please don't ask me about the merch. I promise it's coming. No, it is really coming. We're getting to the final stages now. Two more things I'll speak about from a transfer perspective. This one's an interesting one. Okay? Maybe this isn't going to be anything further than just a little bit of flirting. I got no idea. But Benjamin Sesko's agent was at Old Trafford yesterday. Now, if I'm correct, I believe there is a €50 million release clause in Benjamin Sesko's contract, if I'm correct. I think it is. So there is a possibility that he could come to Old Trafford. I'll be honest, looking at it, I'm like, is that exactly the player that we need? Another young striker? I think he probably would be a good signing, but I'm not sure whether I would put that down as my priority. Certainly not the priority for this summer. The priority is at least 2 centre-backs and a central midfielder. We'll find out, but I thought that was an interesting one. Someone down there saying 42 million release clause. I got no idea. It's somewhere between 40 and 50 million, I think. All right? So it wouldn't be anywhere near as expensive as Haaland, but it would still be quite expensive given that we've got a lot to do this summer. But you know what's going to make it a little bit better? And this is something I really want to see from United. I might even do a video on this. I really want United to just walk in to sit down with negotiations, to sit down for negotiations with Borussia Dortmund, right? Heavy as the head that wears the crown. And he still wears it. Man, Dortmund love Sancho. Like, capital Love, love Jadon Sancho. And I seriously hope that United just walk into the negotiations with them and just have printouts, big A2 printouts of all Dortmund's prop tweets for Dortmund, for Sancho, like that one there. But they won't. They'll come to the table and they'll say, here's 15 million. I'd be like, slap them upside the head, man. They love him that much. You can pay for him. That's what I want to see. I really hope we negotiate that properly. I don't know whether it will be... It shouldn't be a loan because we need the money now. I don't know idea what I'm going to see. A0 size. Just get vans to park outside. You might want to look outside there, mate. Yep, that one there. Oh, that one there. Someone saying Sesko is no different to Højlund. Sesko is another young striker. A little bit more experience. Not too much more experience. Actually, I think there's a bit more experience, but again, it's ultimately two young strikers. Whereas I think in reality, this summer, I suppose you're only going to go one or two ways. I think with the striker this summer, you're either going to sign someone really young who's happy to play second fiddle and is there to learn, or you're going to get someone who's experienced who is happy to play second fiddle and can't play every week. And I don't know if the younger version is the correct way to allow Rasmus Højlund to develop. I think he probably could do with having an experienced head alongside him. It's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm not saying that Sesko would be a bad signing, by the way, because it's absolutely not. But it's an interesting one. McNeil, I think, is on loan at... I can't remember who he's on loan. It's Stockport. Charlie McNeil. Oh, is he back at the club already? Stevenage. Is he in Stevenage? No, he returned to the club and I don't even know what he's doing. I really don't know. But look, you've seen Ethan Wheatley now. He's made 3 appearances in the first team. So Ethan Wheatley's going to be getting the nod from a youth team perspective ahead of Charlie McNeil now. Sam, you can't have Welbeck over Sesko. Look, when it comes to this summer's, my dream signings this summer, Danny Welbeck's not going to be anywhere near my dream 11, but my realistic signings, if I've got a budget that I have to stick to, then Danny Welbeck's probably going to be part of a conversation. Not necessarily definite that he's going to come in, but it's going to be part of a conversation. But I knew that would be a long show there today, and I think it had to be. As I said, I think that I'm glad that we've been able to have this conversation there because I've been able to explain myself. I didn't like some of the comments. Not I didn't like some. I didn't like some of the comments. But I read some of the comments and I was like, you know what? I think quite a few of you are fair to sort of say what you're saying. So I think we've spoken about that this morning. But my lunchtime video is going to be on this.
For most of this campaign. Let's hear from Erik.
Look at it. The fact that that has been allowed to happen is just insane. And nothing will sum up the Glazers' ownership of Manchester United more than these videos. And as I said, they are so lucky that the rain didn't happen 30 minutes earlier because thousands of people would have had to run away to the concourses to avoid getting absolutely soaked. And those images and videos would have been a lot more damaging overall. I think so anyway. And genuinely quite dangerous to a lot of people. There's a couple of super chats. I want to read these out. Alex, live stream post-match reaction if United win the cup. I mean, that could be fun. We can get drunk. Who was it that called me? Someone left a comment on a video after one of the live streams at Christmas saying I had like a drinking problem. And that's why my ex-wife left me. Man, that comment will always stick in my head. And it's lucky I can take these sorts of comments. That's quite funny. Well, it wasn't funny, but I found it funny. Memeth, you're saying Amac can be our version of Bernardo Silva. I think that's a bit strong. But I think he can be a better number 10 than McTominay for sure. Nuruddin from Dressing Room Leaks to Dressing Room Leaks. Deary me. Thanks for asking, by the way, DP down there. How's your leg? My leg, I'll be honest, these last few months have been tough. Mentally and physically. Because United have been garbage. Absolutely garbage. And all I've been able to do is work. I haven't been able to go anywhere. I haven't been able to bloody leave the flat because of my foot. And we've been awful. So I haven't been able to like escape from it, which has been a problem. I was thinking about it because I managed to go for a walk this morning. So we're 3 months now from when the surgery happened, and I'm hopefully starting proper physio on Wednesday or Thursday. So the first 3 months are out of the way. Now the next 3 months, hopefully I can start walking properly. That's what we're going for next. If you can, drop a like on the video. It has been an exhausting season. We've all said some things that maybe we wouldn't say when it wasn't the heat of the moment, and I'm guilty of that. But there is more positive things coming up at some point in the not too distant future. Look, thank you all for tuning in today. It means a lot. Thank you to Akash and to Nuruddin. You're both absolute legends. You really, really are, man. Congratulations to the women's team for the FA Cup win. I'm going to run through everything Old Trafford related at lunchtime today. Tomorrow I've got a big video planned as well. And then we've got Newcastle on Wednesday. Anyway, much love. Speak to you soon.